I'm Darren McGrady, the Royal Chef, former chef to the Queen, Princess Diana, Prince William and Prince Harry, and I'm going to be making one of her favourite dishes, Gaelic steaks. I remember sleeping on the Mall outside Buckingham Palace to watch the royal wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer. I was working at the Savoy Hotel in London at the time, and I thought, how cool would it be to be a royal chef and to work in those royal kitchens? When I got home, I applied for a job. Just a few weeks later, there I was in the kitchens having an interview. It was incredible. Buckingham Palace was everything I expected. The interview, I sat with the food and beverage director. He asked me all about cooking. I got the job, just like that. Within 2 weeks, I was working in the kitchens at Buckingham Palace. I started at Buckingham Palace and was then moved to Balmoral Castle. It was at Balmoral Castle where I first met the Queen. It was my afternoon off, and I remember going for a walk along the side of the river, and I looked down the road and I saw this lady walking towards me, and she got a load of dogs with her. And I looked a bit closer and thought, no, that can't be the Queen. The lady was coming closer and closer, and she got a headscarf on and a barber coat. And I looked again and I thought, oh my gosh, it's the Queen. I'm going to see the Queen. She's got to, remember what you've got to say. It's good morning, Your Majesty. Good afternoon, Your Majesty. It's bow. You bow. You don't speak to her unless she speaks to you. All of this was going through my mind, and I was thinking, I'm finally going to meet the Queen. As she got closer, the dogs saw me, 12 corgis, and they all started barking and then running towards me. And I just stopped and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get attacked by the corgis. I'm not going to get to see the Queen after all. I turned and I went running the other way. And the Queen started laughing. Can you believe? The Queen was laughing at me running away from the corgis. So I never really did get to meet the Queen. These are beef tenderloin steaks, and I'm just seasoning with a little salt and pepper. I'm using beef tenderloin steaks, but at Balmoral Castle, the Queen would actually have venison. Now we're going to cook the steaks, the mushrooms and the onions, and make the sauce. To serve with the Gaelic steaks, I'm doing potatoes and parsnips mashed together. And then the garnish is some little baby carrots. Queen Elizabeth loved to eat food from the estate, from the gardens. And at Balmoral Castle, we'd grow the parsnips and the potatoes and the carrots. So when all this came together, especially if we were doing this with venison from the estate, this was a fantastic meal, and you can see why it was one of the Queen's favourites. One of the things I soon learned working for the Queen was that all of the dishes were rich in cream and butter and fat. Calories didn't really matter. We could use as much cream and butter in the dishes as we wanted to, and it just made them taste amazing. It really was traditional French cuisine. Queen chose the menus at Buckingham Palace using a menu book. We would suggest 3 days menus for her to choose from, and then she would pick the ones that she wanted. She put a line through the dishes that she didn't want. And if she got guests coming, she'd write 2 or 4. The Queen wasn't a real foodie, and I soon learned that she eats to live. She doesn't live to eat. And so the menus that we did were pretty much the same, again and again, all the time. And if we tried to come up with a new recipe, then we had to actually send up the recipe itself, the whole recipe, so the Queen could look at the menu, look and see what was the ingredients were. And it was difficult. It was difficult trying to put new dishes on all the time. She liked her favourites. When she's on her own, then the Queen avoids most starches. When she's entertaining, then she will eat the starches. I did an interview where I was asked what was the Queen's favourite drinks. She likes a glass of champagne. She likes Gewürztraminer, that's one of her favourite German wines with the banquet. She likes the gin and Dubonnet. She likes port. Someone said, oh right, so she has 4 drinks a day. The Queen is such a disciplinarian. It amazed me that we would send a great big chocolate cake up for her to have a meal at afternoon tea, and she would just take the tiniest slice and it would go back to the kitchen. If she wanted more, she would wait till next day, and when that cake came up again, I would have eaten it all. One of the things that really amazed me was that the Queen actually likes meat well done, and chefs, we cook medium rare all the time, so it was really, really important that we got a really good sear on the steaks. and cooked her steaks well done. If ever she was doing a standing rib roast, a prime rib, she always had the first slice because that meant that meat was well done on the outside. This is the best part of the sauce, the deglaçage, all those little crispy pieces in the bottom. And putting the butter and oil in there before we add the onions really gives the flavour. And some mushrooms. Turn up the flame and let those saute. One fun thing about this dish, the Gaelic steaks, is we'd also make it for Prince Philip. But the Queen doesn't like garlic, but he does. So we'd actually put a little bit of garlic in there for Prince Philip. It was about a week later when I saw the Queen again. This time she looked like a real queen. No headscarf, no corgis running after me. The Queen hosts a Gillies Ball, a gamekeeper's ball, every year at Balmoral, and all the staff are invited. I was there in my suit and all the royal family came down, and this time the Queen was dressed in a beautiful long gown. She got a tiara on. That's the Queen that I knew. The best part of the Gaelic steaks, the whiskey. You never got to sit down with the Queen at all. We were royal servants and you never even sat at the same table as Her Majesty. Here we go again, lashings of cream in the sauce. Well, that's just going to simmer and reduce now. Once it's reduced and we've got a nice consistency, then the steaks go back in. The Queen was never one for surprises in the kitchen. She liked the same foods, the same dishes over and over again. Just every now and again she would come back from somewhere she'd visited and say, I had this dish and I've got the recipe, can you make this please? And we'd have to try something different. But for the most part, it was those tried and tested recipes. Some of the dishes dated back to Queen Victoria's era. The chocolate cake, for example. That same chocolate cake was served to every member of the royal family for over 100 years. When it came to the Gaelic steaks, beef or venison for the Queen, depending on where she was, seasonal vegetables too. And if we were out Balmoral, we could do the parsnip mash from the gardens and some baby carrots to go with it. Ready to serve. If the Queen was on her own, we could plate. But for a banquet, it would go on a big silver tray with 10 portions, and the potatoes and the vegetables would all be served separate. The Queen's not a big eater, just small portions, so we couldn't fill the plate. And one of these steaks was more than enough. Gaelic steaks, and that is one of the Queen's favourite dishes.